Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Let's Talk Thursdays podcast. My name is Brendan Plays. Quick apology for missing last week. I did not plan on missing last week. I thought I was going to do it, but I went away one day earlier than I actually originally planned to go away, and I couldn't obviously watch Smackdown. I'd seen Raw, but I didn't want to do a show in advance and not seen Smackdown, so I just made the decision not to do the show. Instead, get some other videos done in advance for you guys. So I apologize for that, but we do have a pretty jam-packed show. Not a lot really happened last week, but we do have plenty to talk about this week. This week we're going to talk about the Great Balls of Fire PPV. We're going to preview that. All the little things that went down on Smackdown, including the big returns of Rusev and Cena, the rap battle segment, and for the first time in a while, we have some TNA talk. I guess they're not actually TNA anymore. They're now Global Force Wrestling. So I actually watched the Slammiversary pay-per-view, and a quick little spoiler for my discussion later on, I actually really enjoyed it. So we're going to talk about that. And also, I finally wrapped up Glow this week, watching Glow on Netflix. I know I'm a week or two behind now, but I wanted to wait and watch it with my girlfriend. So we wrapped that up over the weekend. So we really enjoyed it. I personally really enjoyed it. I think she enjoyed it. I'm not sure. I think it took her a while to get into it, but we'll talk about Glow and give my little bit of a review later on as well. And of course, we'll answer your questions. And if you have a question, leave it in the comment section down below, and you can also leave a question on the website, brendanplays.com/forums, or on our Facebook page, Brendan Plays, or leave a voicemail on the website as well. So there's a few ways. And if you are listening on YouTube and you're looking for a few different ways to listen to the podcast, you can also find us on iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher. Those are the best ways, and also iHeartRadio as well. So those are some of the best ways to find the podcast. And of course, this edition of the podcast is sponsored by Gamefly. It is probably the best service I think you can find if you are from the United States, where you can rent yourself a game, you can pay a fee every month, and you get yourself a game. You can finish it, you can play it, you can send it back, and they'll send you another one. So you can just play a game, play it for a few days, finish it, or if you don't like it, you can send it back and get another one. It's a really efficient, great way to, get your gaming habit in without having to buy games. If you're not a game buyer, you prefer to rent, this is a really good way to do it. But anyways, let's get into the show. And we'll start things off, of course, with Monday Night Raw. Now, look, there's not a lot to really talk about on Raw itself. Mainly, we're going to be talking about the Great Balls of Fire. A couple of things on Raw. Obviously, the Enzo promo to start things off, which was a long promo. And they really are giving this feud a lot of time. They've given it some good spots as well. They've given it a main event ending with the big turn. So now they've given him a couple of openers, I believe. So they're obviously putting a lot of time and effort into this rivalry, which is good. It's good to see. It's good that they're actually investing some time in something else other than, Roman Reigns, for example. Look, I didn't mind it. His promo was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, it's hard to believe that a guy like Enzo can beat Big Cass. That's the whole issue. But his promo basically said, look, I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to try my best, and let's try and do it. He does look like an idiot, especially after last week where he just forgave him after getting attacked. And now, the next week, okay, he really does hate me. All right, it's time to fight. It's time to get this guy. So, yeah, and look, they're trying their best to make Enzo a threat. It's hard to do it. It really is, but they're trying. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I'm really looking forward to seeing the future of Enzo and Cass as singles, as a solo act. I really believe Big Cass will be a player. He'll be prominent in that upper mid-card, perhaps in the IC Championship. I don't think he's world title material. I don't think he would get the world title anytime soon. Maybe in a year or two, once he's developed more, they might look to move him up there. But I think a slow process would be better for Big Cass. So, I mean, they got to let him find his ways as singles. I mean, it's one thing, Jinder Mahal, he got hot shot in the main event, but at least he kind of wrestled on his own for a number of years. Whereas Big Cass has always been a tag team guy. So being on his own, that's a big adjustment. That's a big transition. You've got to learn how to be a single. You've got to learn how to work on your own. So Big Cass will need some time. He'll need a year or two, if not more, to learn that. So I guess we have to be a little bit easy on the guy, considering, yes, if it's one thing if he went in NXT and he was a solo act down there and he had 2 or 3 years down there as a solo, moved up to the main roster, got put in the tag team, sure, but it hasn't really been the case. He's always mainly been a tag team, so it's a new thing for both Enzo and Cass, and it's going to be hard for both of them, so we'll have to see. We'll have to give them some time, and let's hope they can work well. They've obviously worked pretty well as a pair, and quite often friends and teammates have pretty good singles matches against one another, so we'll see, but I'm looking forward to it. And honestly, great Balls of Fire. I think on paper, it looks to be one of the stronger cards in quite some time. I think the main event, Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar, honestly, is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I mean, that's probably my most anticipated match in a long time, and that's a real big match. Especially the way they've booked and used Samoa Joe. Man, they've made him a star. They really have. He's gone from, yes, he had a strong start to his Raw run. He had a good debut. Took out Rollins, but then he's kind of floundered around, not doing a lot since. And for whatever reason, because probably Braun Strowman went down injured, they've pulled the trigger on Samoa Joe, and it might end up being the best thing that they've done, because this guy has stepped up. His promos are terrific. We know he's a good wrestler, but he has the size and the intensity about him as well to be a legitimate threat to Lesnar. Obviously Strowman would be as well. We can do that down the line, no doubt about it. That'd be great. I still think that's the SummerSlam match that they should go with. But Samoa Joe, if it is a short-term thing, he is a great guy to put in that position. Now, personally, I'm enjoying Samoa Joe so much that I would look, if they took the title off Lesnar and just gave it to Joe because he's doing so damn good, I wouldn't be against it. Now, the question is, can he bring that same level of intensity? Can he get that same performance and bring that out of someone else on the roster? Roman Reigns, Strowman, these are the type of guys they have to deal with. Seth Rollins, that rivalry didn't quite deliver. But to be fair, I don't think the booking of Samoa Joe was as good as it is now. So if they keep going along this route with this character that he's been building, I think they've really got a new star in their hands. I really believe Samoa Joe. Now, we all know he is a star. He's been a star everywhere he went. And yes, it is TNA. It is Ring of Honor, a much smaller scale. It is NXT. But that's saying something. Everywhere he goes, he's legit. He is the man. So he's one of the top guys wherever he is. So that says something. And I think now WWE is starting to really pull the trigger on the guy. And I think it's great. I really believe that if they continue to put their stock in Samoa Joe, he could draw big money for them down the line. I really do. I think he still has plenty of mileage in the tank. Another good 5 years left in him. At least another probably two or three very good years. So I think that's worth getting behind. And, the thing is, they don't have a really good babyface for Samoa Joe to go up against. Brock Lesnar is just Brock Lesnar. He's not really a face or a heel. It's whoever he's up against. If he's up against a heel, then they position him as a face. If he's up against a babyface, they position him as a heel. He's just Brock Lesnar. He's a tweener. He just goes in and out, whichever feud he needs to kind of be. That's what he is. So Lesnar's not really a true babyface, and I think the crowd might be split. I think the crowd are going to support Samoa Joe, and Lesnar always has his fans. But I think the crowd may support Samoa Joe because they've really been enjoying this run. At least I have been. I would be definitely supporting Joe. And I really believe Joe could be, like I said, could be something. And if he loses to Lesnar, it won't be the end of the world. But I hope that he does put on a good performance. And I hope Lesnar at least tries in their match as well. Because if Joe, for example, takes a beating but just gets up and just keeps on fighting and takes down Lesnar, nearly even beats him, that's enough to put him over. He doesn't have to necessarily win, but if he gets close, let's say he gets the Coquina clutch in, and Lesnar almost taps, he looks like he's going to pass out, but somehow survives, I think that will help Joe anyways, even if he does lose. So Look, personally, if they put the belt on him, I wouldn't be mad. I mean, it would make Lesnar's title reign completely pointless, which is the only thing that would stop me from doing it if I were them. If Lesnar, for example, had held the belt for 6 to 8 months, had a few rivalries, had some matches, and Joe was doing this good, I would probably put the belt on Joe. But because this is Lesnar's first match, yes, it's July, his first match since winning the title in April, you can't really do that, surely. Even SummerSlam would be too early. They say WrestleMania might be the plan, and that probably is the right time, because if they are all in on Lesnar, well, geez, you're going to have to wait till WrestleMania before you really get a decent reign out of Lesnar. You get a few matches out of Lesnar, really. So they may have to do that. But I did, like I said, I enjoyed their back and forth. The brawl that they had was good again. The intensity, and actually having Brock Lesnar talk for once was good, and it's a nice change because Brock always sits there. We don't really hear from him, and this type of environment, he should be talking, and I think that was a good call. And he did fine. He's not a great promo, but in this type of situation where he just has to talk a bit of trash, it's a bit like what he would do in like a UFC conference. It's not a wrestling promo. It's just two guys who don't like each other talking a bit of trash to one another. I think Lesnar can thrive in that situation. That's when I think you get the only performance out of Lesnar on the mic. So, yeah, that was good. We'll talk more about that in a moment's time and get some great balls. We pretty much covered that match, but last couple of things I want to talk about on Raw. Just quickly, enjoyed the Cesaro and Finn Balor match. That was good. Doing a 30-minute Iron Man match at Great Balls now between... Great Balls, I just can't get over that name. It's so silly. Even, I think Dean Ambrose made fun of it on Raw, so they know it's stupid. So obviously they scripted that in to say that the pay-per-view name sucks. So they obviously know, but they still went with it. I mean, how does that get through a creative meeting, a production meeting? How does that get through and the entire production says, yep, that's the one, Great Balls of Fire? All right, we're not going to go into that. But anyways, Cesaro and Finn Balor, good match. Like I said, 30-minute Iron Man tag match. I think that's overkill. I mean, does this match really warrant a 30-minute Iron Man match? Yeah, it probably will be good. It will be. Is this a way just to fill in time? Is this rivalry that popular, that hot, that it warrants an Iron Man 30-minute match? I don't know. I don't know. 20-minute Iron Man match probably would be better, but 30 minutes, that's a long time. And they don't necessarily do that unless it's main event match. And even then, they don't even give their top matches any more than 20 minutes these days. Most main event matches will barely scrap the 20-minute mark. So now they're giving this tag match that's going to be in the middle of the card. Probably the show opener, I'd say. I don't know. Opening up with an Iron Man match, is that a good idea? Maybe. That's when the crowd's most hot. Maybe that's a good idea. I guess they do have the pre-show match to kind of warm the crowd up, so maybe that's not a bad idea. Probably where they'll go. And look, I think it could be a great match. They've got great workers in there. Even Sheamus. Sheamus, I'm liking him in this tag team. I've kind of turned the corner a bit on Sheamus. I'm liking his work as a solo. And when he's the Irish John Cena, no thank you. But when he's in this tag team with Cesaro, he's not getting the major push. He will lose, and he's not cutting, trying to be funny on the mic or anything like that. He's more serious. I think that's when Sheamus is at his best. Cesaro has been helping to bring the best out of him. So, yeah, look, great workers. The Hardy Boys, at this point, I'm losing interest rapidly. They need this broken thing to come along. Even then, I don't know if that's going to be the saving grace. It feels like they're creeping it in a little bit more. Obviously, Matt Hardy on commentary was really starting to do a few of the mannerisms, just say a few of the words that you would expect to hear from that broken character a little bit more. So they're getting close to that resolution. They're getting close to sorting that whole ordeal out with TNA or Impact. I was going to say Impact. It's actually Global Force. Whatever the fuck the name is anymore. Can't even keep up. But yeah, they're getting close to sorting it out. But I don't know. Even if they do, is it too late? Maybe. Look, a change would be big. I mean, and I think doing it at SummerSlam would be the best. But they need a reason to break the Hardys. So maybe losing to Sheamus and Cesaro maybe the one. But it's just a very odd match. I don't think I can recall ever seeing a tag team Iron Man match. Maybe they just wanted to do something different, and that's the best they could come up with. I don't know. And finally, we had Braun Strowman. And there's a lot of other things up on Raw. Obviously, it was a 3-hour show, but there's not a lot of memorable things to really talk about. And at least, we can talk about it in the Great Balls preview. But the Braun Strowman kick, we all saw it. Braun Strowman kicked away Apollo Crews, a big man. Apollo Crews, a big dude, just kicked him away when he tried to do a moonsault. Looked awesome, was awesome. Braun Strowman is the man. He's one of my favorites. So glad he's back. Raw is far better with him on it, and he just feels and acts like a star. He's just resembling to me of like a Kane, where everyone's starting to fear the guy. It's like, oh crap, Braun Strowman's coming out. It reminds me, you think of Kane, Kane was always the guy that if there needed to be a surprise person to come out as a babyface, Kane's music would always hit and be like, oh shit, here comes Kane. And it's like, oh god, Kane's coming out, look out. And Braun Strowman, to me, is that guy. He's just like, oh crap, Braun Strowman's in the room, walk away, look the other direction. That's the aura that he's got right now, which is great. It really is. It's great to have that character again. Someone who is big, tough, legitimate, and has that credibility, and looks pretty good in the ring. He's not a big hoss that sucks like a Snitsky, for example, or Mike Knox. These big dudes that they get in that just average, if that. Strowman's pretty good. He's getting a lot better in the ring, and he's pretty athletic as well for a big guy. So there's plenty to be impressed about, and he definitely impresses me. So once again, a really cool thing. I've never seen anyone do that kick that he did to Cruz. That's crazy. We'll get into the Great Balls of Fire preview now. And, alright, so we'll start things off with the 30-minute Iron Man match. Like I said, I think this will open the show up. As of right now, is there a pre-show match? I don't believe there is a pre-show match set. Just trying to think of what they could do as a pre-show. Maybe a women's match. Maybe they'll probably do a cruiserweight match. That seems to be their go-to pre-show match, is a cruiserweight match. So yeah, Cesaro and Sheamus versus the Hardy Boys. I think Cesaro and Sheamus should retain, and probably will retain. And surely this now leads to the Hardy Boys going broken or something. But then the question is, do they break them and then do another match with Sheamus and Cesaro? Because these two teams, whether it be singles, whether it be tags, have versed each other every damn week, it seems, for the last few months since WrestleMania. It's been a bit overkill. So ending it here with a 30-minute Iron Man match, you can't really go from a 30-minute Iron Man match and do something else. That's like the end-all. It's certainly for a tag team, because that's a lot of time. You've seen everything that these two teams can offer in a match, in a 30-minute Iron Man match. The best of the best that you're going to see from these two working together, you're going to see that in this Iron Man match. So that you couldn't possibly get another match out of them. So where to next? The Hardy Boys probably will go with the Revival. Cesaro and Sheamus. I'm trying to think of another team. I'm kind of struggling. I mean, Enzo and Cass would have been great, but now that's not there. So I'm kind of, the Club are obviously a heel team, so I can't really think of another babyface team off the top of my head. I'm sure there is one, but I'm just kind of drawing a blank. But yeah, so maybe the Titus brand. I don't know. But look, I think this has been a solid rivalry. Probably too many matches against each other. So by the time we get to this big Iron Man match, it's not as effective. It's not as special because I've seen it so much of them. But still, it should be a good match. The Miz versus Dean Ambrose for the IC title. Miz will probably win. He's got Maurice, Bo Dallas, and Curtis Axel ringside. Surely he can win with that trio to help him out. The Miz-tourage to help him win. So, and plus, I think they know that Miz as champion is the right way to go, and Ambrose as champion is not. So I would have Miz win and move these two guys away from each other. We've seen this enough now. It's time to move on. Enzo versus Big Cass, one-on-one. I think the way to do it would be Big Cass beats Enzo in a few minutes, beats the absolute hell out of him. I would say makes him bleed and all that, but they don't do that anymore. That's what I would do. Bust him open, use a weapon. Maybe Big Cass uses a chair and maybe goes too far, or he's attacking Enzo and he breaks the 5 count, gets the DQ. Enzo wins the match, but Big Cass beats the hell out of him afterwards. Big Show comes out at the end and comes in for the save, setting up for a Big Cass and Big Show match at SummerSlam. Which, look, I'm not against that. Honestly, I'm not. Big Cass beats the Big Show at SummerSlam. It's a good win for Big Cass, a good way to start off his singles run. I'm okay with that. And plus, there's a little bit of history there. They've built a little bit there. They've teased it, so you might as well execute it. So I think that's the way to go. Seth Rollins versus Bray Wyatt, 1-on-1 in a Who Cares match. Bray Wyatt, I'm really struggling to find any fucks that I care, that I can give. I just don't care about this guy. Look, he's so dead in the water right now. They even tried. They haven't cut this promo out in the desert or something, so they're actually attempting to do something with Bray, but it's just not there. It's just nothing there. Ever since coming to Raw, ever since losing the title in that House of Horrors match, it's just been downhill very fast from there. Seth Rollins, obviously getting the W2K18 cover. They're making him like a bit of a big deal at the moment. They're trying to really make him on the cover as a big deal. So I can't see him losing. I think they're going to keep promoting him, keep him strong, and Bray Wyatt's doing nothing. So I think Rollins winning was probably the right way to go. Alexa Bliss versus Sasha Banks for the Women's Championship. Again, in another Who Cares match. The women's build has been awful. Awful. The segments, ever since this Bayley thing, I'm just so turned off by the women. I just can't care. It's worse than the Wyatt situation. I like Alexa Bliss. Sasha Banks is pretty good, but oh my god, it's just I just can't get interested. I just can't. Alexa Bliss should win though, and save. If you're gonna put the belt on Sasha, save it for a big occasion. But if you ask WWE, Great Balls of Fire is a big occasion. But yeah, I wouldn't do that. By the way, I kind of missed a match. Neville and Tozawa. That's actually going to be in the pre-show, so I missed that one. So I just got it here. So Titus O'Neil in his corner, of course Tozawa's the corner, for the Cruiserweight title. Look, I actually really enjoy the Titus brand. Now they've got Tozawa. It's a really odd pairing, and I think it's meant to be. It's kind of silly. But I don't mind it, honestly. And Titus getting involved with the Cruiserweights is not a bad thing. And Apollo and Titus, I think they fit well together. So I actually like that. I'm liking where they're going with that. Tozawa and Neville, it's a good match. That should be a good match. Pre-show match, though, is disappointing. Because I probably will not bother to watch it, because I always seem to miss the pre-shows, unless it's WrestleMania or SummerSlam. I haven't really watched a pre-show in a while, so I probably will miss it, but that probably will be a good match. So maybe I should go out of my way to check it out. But again, Cruiserweights relegated to the pre-show is not a good thing. And just another little thing, obviously, where's R-Truth and Goldust? They're kind of missing that, aren't they? So what's the deal there? Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman ambulance match. Well, look, this is, for both guys, a good match type to have to protect one another. No one has to take the pin. Someone can win, and you can still have each other look really strong. So it's a good type of match to have. Personally, I would have Braun Strowman win, and I would do Lesnar versus Braun Strowman at SummerSlam, but I feel like they're going to go with Roman Reigns and Lesnar and do it early at SummerSlam. I think that's a mistake. If they see Lesnar and Reigns as the end-all, be-all, that's their big main event money match, save it for Mania. Keep these two away from each other, especially since Lesnar's acting like the babyface against Samoa Joe. You expect us to believe that he's now the bad guy against Roman Reigns a month later. The sensible thing would be for Lesnar versus Strowman. Yes, Strowman will lose to Lesnar, but giving him that huge match, I still think that benefits him, and that's I think that's what we want to see. I think we'd rather see that at this point. That's a spectacle. That's something, wow, what's going to happen? The possibilities are kind of endless there. It really does match up well on paper. So I would go with Strowman beating Reigns, but look, Roman Reigns, it's like John Cena back in the day. It wouldn't shock me at all if Reigns wins. You know, Cena would win every match. You wouldn't even bother predicting a Cena match. You'd just say, yep, Cena wins. These days, it's not as bad with Reigns, but it's starting to get there. You know, I feel like, yep, Roman Reigns is going to win. So, main event, Lesnar and Joe, one-on-one. We pretty much talked about it. I think Lesnar will win, but geez, I tell you what, Samoa Joe has made a good case. Tell you what, Samoa Joe has been terrific. He's one of my favorites right now. I've always liked Samoa Joe, but I've never really been... He's never been my number one guy. You know, look at TNA guys. Bobby Roode was always the guy that I looked at, not Samoa Joe so much. But Joe is starting to really, really impress me in recent time, and especially this Lesnar rivalry. So, look, if Joe's performance, like I said, he keeps this up, he's got a good case to be a Universal Champion at some point in the near future. I just feel like it could be a little disappointing. If Lesnar and Joe tear the house down, I tell you what, I'd be tempted to do a rematch. Tempted to do a rematch at SummerSlam. So don't lock Strowman in or Reigns in just yet, because if these two have a good one, I think the fans and WWE will probably be very tempted to go with a rematch. And I would be too, because I think this matches up really well on paper. But it depends on if Lesnar tries. Lesnar's recent matches have just been suplexes only, doing nothing. He does knees, he does shoulders in the corner, he does a few punches, suplexes, and an F5. It's not much there, so let's hope he actually attempts to have a wrestling match. That would be nice, especially for Joe, because Joe needs this. Joe needs a big performance, and it wouldn't surprise me if Joe is just killing himself here in this one to get himself over, because if he does really well, I think WWE will keep pushing the guy, which I think is a good thing. But that's your great Balls of Fire coverage. Couple of things on Smackdown this week. John Cena and Rusev both returned. So you can't have a 4th of July without John Cena. It's like having Christmas without Santa Claus. You just can't have 4th of July or any American day or occasion or military occasion, anything like that. You cannot have it without John Cena. He is our American hero, our Lord and Savior at times. If you ask WWE, he is anyways. Cena is back. He's a free agent, basically saying, if I'm only going to be here for part-time, if I'm only going to be here occasionally, I want to be on every show. So, I mean, that's fair enough, whatever. So, yeah, basically John Cena can do whatever the hell he wants. That's the rules. Everyone else has to be on one brand. I'm sure, in storyline-wise, I'm sure maybe Kevin Owens would like to be on both shows and try and compete for both titles, but he can't, because he only has to be on one show. He's drafted to one show, whereas Cena can do whatever the hell he wants. Cena makes his own rules. So, but anyways, Rusev is back. They just randomly brought him back now to do a flag match with Cena, which I think guarantees Rusev loses. I mean, there's no way they bring back Cena to lose to Rusev. So not exactly the ideal return that I was hoping for Rusev. At least they brought up the fact that he wanted to come back and they chose not to, and the GMs chose not to, and they were holding him down, and they made a big deal about Cena, but where's Rusev's big deal? So at least they brought that up. I thought that was fine. I'm glad they mentioned it, because if he had to come out and said, I'm here, I'm back now, I mean, that would have been silly. At least they brought that up. And look, I like Rusev a lot. I really believe Rusev should be in Jinder Mahal's position right now. I think he'd do a much better job, because Jinder Mahal is just the drizzling shits right now. Don't care what you say. I've been saying it straight away. He's not ready. He's not good enough. And I don't think he ever will be good enough for that spot. You can hate on me. Some people still think he's terrific. Some people say, oh, wow, his promos are so good. I don't know what promos they're listening to or watching, but I haven't heard him cut a good one yet. And if you want to see the best representation of the same character that he's doing, watch Muhammad Hassan and watch the heat that they get him and Daivari get. It's nuclear. Jinder Mahal is just like a polite boo. It's just a cheap knockoff, especially because, like I said, I've been watching 2005 WWE, and funny enough, I actually just watched the Great American Bash, which was Muhammad Hassan's last ever match in his career, which is so disappointing. That breaks my heart nearly. Such a world of talent, so young, and had to give it away so early. It sucks, but yeah, his character is just so good. It was just so good. Yes, they went a lot further than they can now, but that was a terrific way to have that anti-American heel. But Jinder Mahal is just a very cheap knockoff version of it, and I just cannot get into it at all. But anyways, Rusev's back. Probably will lose to Cena in the flag match. We had the Usos and the New Day have a rap battle. Probably the most memorable thing on SmackDown this week. I enjoyed it. A couple of good lines is certainly the Rated R. Xavier Woods one was good. Calling out the Usos as being fat and wearing T-shirts I thought was good. I thought the whole segment was pretty good. I didn't mind that at all, and I think that was fine. So, yeah, that went a lot better than I expected. I thought that could have been a disaster, but the New Day and the Usos rapping, I had hope that they could produce something fine, and they did. It was good. There was some laugh out loud moments there, so that was a good segment. Chad Gable and AJ had a good match. No surprise there. But good to see Chad Gable's doing something. The American Alpha have been doing nothing for so long, but they're so talented. Now, my question is, Chad Gable's appeared now a couple times as a solo. What's Jason Jordan doing? Are they testing to see how Gable goes as a singles and maybe thinking about splitting the two? Is that what the plan is? Maybe testing the waters, seeing if Chad Gable could hang with some of the better guys. And I think Gable's a great talent. Obviously, a really good wrestling background. He's Olympian, so he knows what he's doing. So maybe they feel like, okay, work for Kurt Angle. We'll see how Chad Gable goes. And, I don't think he's Kurt Angle, but, not a bad... He's certainly good in the ring. So, good match with AJ. They had the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender. It seems as though they are going to split the Hype Bros. Again, I don't know why. Bad mistake. They're teasing Zack Ryder heel turn. I don't know. I just feel like that's a mistake. I feel like they're finally starting to get some tag teams in SmackDown. Keep the two as friends. If you want to have them as a singles, keep them as allies and friends, and they can have tag matches, but also be singles. I don't get the obsession that they have to split. If they want to have them as a singles, they have to split. What happened to friends? Can't you just be friends and go, okay, well, let's team up tonight. Let's have a match tonight. Let's have a Hype Bros match. And then the next week, all right, I'll be watching a match. Good luck in your match tonight. Good luck, and sit in the sidelines. Why can't they just do that? Why can't they be friends and team up every now and then? Or, and I say, okay, the next few months, let's focus on trying to get the tag titles. Okay, all right, we missed out on the tag titles. Oh, let's focus on our singles, and we might try the tag thing again in a few months' time. They could do something like that, but they just have to turn everyone. And it means that they have no tag teams at the end of the day. They lose their tag teams, even though the Hype Bros aren't the most exciting tag team in the world, but they're losing their tag teams at the end of the day. Same with Enzo and Cass. You feel like, okay, these two could have stayed buddies whilst Big Cass tried to go for a singles run, and Enzo could have been by his side supporting his friend, a friend or a brother to him. Instead, they went with the turn. So, yeah, I feel like sometimes they're obsessed with turning tag teams. In the end, AJ is the number one contender, no real surprise. So they're continuing the Owens and AJ rivalry, which is fine. But again, SmackDown, yeah, it had some moments this week. I thought Raw was a pretty good show, and I thought top to bottom Raw was better. Again, SmackDown just continues to be okay. It's just okay. It's nothing special at the moment. I just feel like they're missing something. Is that something Cena? I don't know. Is it a champion that's not Jinder Mahal? Maybe. I don't know. But they're missing some excitement there. But we'll move on to the other promotion. What do we call them this week? That's the thing. They have changed their name from TNA, Total Nonstop Action, aka Tits and Ass. It was Vince Russo idea, so blame Vince Russo for that name. Changed it to Global Force Wrestling. Now, I personally don't like the name Global Force Wrestling. I think the force part is my issue. I just feel like it's like a police force or a military or something like that, not a wrestling show. I feel like Global Impact Wrestling would have been better, would have been fine, because they really are going with the whole global thing. Slammiversary, they had names from Mexico and Japan and brought in and worked well. That worked well. That was cool. So they are trying to bring in some more global talent. So it makes sense. The name is starting to make more sense, global. And, you could just put Impact Wrestling there and that'd be fine. I think that would be a better name. I just don't like the Force part. But they've changed the name, so they're trying to rebrand and rebuild this company. Now, you can say what you want to say about TNA. I have certainly said plenty of things. I don't watch TNA on a week-to-week basis. I haven't watched an episode of Impact. I couldn't tell you the last time I did. It's been over a year at least, maybe 2 or 3 years. I did watch Slammiversary. I don't know why. I don't know. I just was so interested to see what TNA was up to. Where's TNA at right now? And a pay-per-view is one of the better ways to do it. Because, you can watch an Impact and they might have a decent segment or two, but maybe 1 or 2 good matches. But a pay-per-view is, alright, every match should be good. This is the culmination. This is the best of the best. Slammiversary, one of the best pay-per-views of the year. Let's tune in and let's see what they've got to offer. And I got to say, I really enjoyed the pay-per-view. I did. I mean, they had an opening tag team fatal 4-way match. They had a team from TNA and then 3 teams from other promotions. And they had some good names in there. And it was a really entertaining match. It was fast-paced, high action. It was a long match. It was fun. It was really good. A perfect way to kick off the show. They even had a celebrity match. D'Angelo Williams, I think you probably all heard of him by now, or what he did. He was the football player. I've never heard of him before this, but a football player coming in and had a match and was absolutely awesome. This guy never had a match in his life. He comes in, does all these spots, does all these cool moves, and kind of shows that, hey, if I wanted to be a wrestler, I probably could. Although, I don't think he wants to. I think he's still got a chance to be in the NFL. But, there you go. This guy comes in and does a great job. I think he had a match against Eli Drake and Chris Masters, or Chris Adonis, as they call him now. So, he did botch the table spot at the end. He tried to do a splash for the table at the end, and the table didn't break, and he nearly broke his neck. It was pretty rough. So he did botch that. But, look, other than that, I mean, that's to be expected. The guy is having his first damn match. Some people are so hard. Wrestling fans are so hard. This guy does so well in every other aspect of the match, and he goes just a little bit too far. He's so probably athletic that he just, when he leaped, he didn't know how far to jump. He probably hasn't done it that many times. Probably rehearsed it, and just maybe the nerves got to him, or the pressure, or whatever. Maybe the table was a little bit too far or too close to what he pre-planned, and he just jumped too far, too athletic. It didn't break the table. So, look, he had a great match, and I got to say, probably the best celebrity performance I've ever seen in a wrestling match. And he, from what I hear, is a pretty big name NFL player. So, that's pretty good. That's a good get from TNA and a good performance from D'Angelo. Now, the one thing I will mention is probably the match that I think we're all going, what the hell's going to happen in this thing? The Scott Steiner and Joseph Park, aka Abyss match. Very interesting the way they did this match. Very, very interesting. They went with it was not a final deletion, and so to say, but they went with that style where they pre-tape something and they bring it to the ring and they do that. So they start off in the ring, then they went outside the ring. They pre-taped something probably the day before where, they were driving around in a cart driving around. They went to the pool. They did a few things there, had a bit of a brawl outside the arena or whatever, or wherever the hell they went. And then they brought it back to the ring. You knew it was pre-taped because it was obviously very, very obvious. The the video camera style was very different. The way they shot it was very different. But also the fact that we're driving around everywhere. They went to all the different locations within minutes, and then they got back to the ring in minutes. So you knew it was pre-tape, but whatever. It was entertaining. It was. I got to say, it was entertaining. It was silly. It was goofy. And it worked. Scott Steiner looked absolutely dreadful. He was terrible. His actual look isn't bad. It's not Scott Steiner that we know. Big Papa Pump, largest arms of the world or anything like that. It's not that, but, he doesn't look horrible physically. His punches look like it did not hurt anyone. It wouldn't even hurt a 5-year-old girl. He looked slow. He's just old. He's done. He's 55, so he looks like an old man. He looks like your grandpa having a wrestling match. And that's sad, but that's age. That's age. So he did the best that he probably could. They had Josh Matthews doing his best to sell and did some moves. And Matthews, is a trained wrestler, so he should be able to do a few things, although he doesn't have any size about him at all. So he looked okay, and Abyss obviously came out. They did the switch from Joseph Park to Abyss. That's probably the big reason why they did the cut scene, the breakaway filming, is so they can do the Abyss spot. Because there's no way you can have Joseph Park, crawl underneath the ring and turn to Abyss. You just couldn't do it. So they had to do something, and this was a good way to do it. It worked. It was fine. They came out, got the win. And probably one of my favorite matches of the show, honestly. We had Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards. They had a mixed tag ladder match. That was interesting. It was fun. A nice gimmicky match to put on the show. The women's match didn't care about. EC3 and James Storm had a strap match with, I don't know what this finish was. It was just mind-blowing. James Storm hits his finish, hits a big kick on Ethan Carter. Ethan Carter looks like he's about to lose the match. Then James Storm collapses, and it's like he died. It's like he just dropped dead. And then he gets covered 1, 2, 3. They were talking about how he got hit in the head, and now he's, knocked out. He passed out. And it was just so stupid, so random, so odd. It was, I don't know, it was the low light of the night. I just couldn't wrap my head around that finish. It was terrible. I did not like it at all. Did not like it, so I didn't care for that. But, again, EC3, man, he looks like a damn star. He has a terrific look about him. I wish TNA could transform him into something big and really help, him get there. I think they seem as though they're putting all their stocks in Del Rio or El Patron at the moment, or Lashley. I think the EC3 is still the guy they're going to do it with. They've got a decent couple names there. They've got Storm, EC3, Lashley, and El Patron. There's some good names that they have. Obviously, 3 of them are, in their 40s, or if not very close, so that's not ideal, but, there's still a few decent names left in TNA. There is. Speaking of Lashley and El Patron, they had their match. I didn't think it was anything special. I thought it was okay. They did say it was going to be better than Lesnar and Joe, I think they said. I mean, Joe and Lesnar haven't got much to beat, so that was not anything special at all. It was okay. It was just okay. So, Slammiversary, though, good. I think I give it, a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I did. For a TNA baby, that's a good effort. Certainly in 2017. That was the first TNA pay-per-view I think I watched since Slammiversary 2012, which I think I gave that pay-per-view like a 9 out of 10. That pay-per-view was freaking awesome. This pay-per-view was good. There was some good matches. I tell you what, it was good to watch something different. I haven't watched any other wrestling other than WWE for a long time now, for at least for a year, and it was good to watch something different and see some different names, see a different presentation of wrestling. I really like Don West on commentary. Some people really hate him, but I personally love Don West. I think he is fantastic. Just makes every match feel huge, and every move just sounds like it means something. It's impactful. It's a big deal. He just really puts over a big match over the top. The other guy that they brought in, the MLB guy for the commentary, was okay. He did a decent job. He didn't do a bad job. It's especially because he's not an actual wrestling commentator. He did a pretty good job, so that was fine. Josh Matthews, though, on commentary sucks. Jeremy Borash, he sucks too. The Pope, nothing special, so their actual commentators aren't great. But Don West, I've always been a fan. Him and Mike Tenay, always loved that combination, so good to hear him on commentary again. But like I said, not a bad show. And TNA, they're trying their best to kind of rebuild the company. And number two, a competition to WWE is so vital. If they can get somewhere back to where they were, if they can somehow get a TV deal with Spike or something along those lines and save this company, I hope for it, because if there's ever a time right now to see a promotion come through, it's right now, because wrestling needs it. WWE is not good. There is a chance for a promotion to come through. And people say, what about Japan? Japan always has the language barrier. That's always going to be the case. You're never going to get around it. It's always going to be very, very popular among hardcore wrestling fans. But casual fans, I think, will always struggle to get on board with it. No matter if they have English commentary or whatever, if you've got so many foreign guys on the show, it's going to be hard for people to connect with those people, even if they do have American wrestlers on the card. So that's always going to be hard. And Ring of Honor, they've just got so many different things they've got to work on before they can get there too. So TNA is probably still your best bet. But, Jeff Jarrett has connections, so if he can do something, that's great. But, he's got some work to do. But anyways, last little thing before we get into some gaming chat. Glow. The Netflix show Glow. Finally got a chance to watch it. Look, I personally loved it. Right from episode 1, I was hooked. It was not so much about the wrestling. It was more so about the characters and the process of becoming a wrestler, which I thought was cool. And I thought they did a good job in representing wrestling. They didn't bury it. They didn't make it seem like too much of a joke. They respected it. And yes, they completely exposed the business. Absolutely exposed it. But it's, they're not the first one to do it. So that's fine. It's been exposed by many, many other people. But I thought they did a really good job. They had some good acting on the show. The wrestling that they did, the actual actors doing the wrestling, was not bad. I mean, they did a good enough job. Glow itself never had good wrestling back in the 80s. It never had good wrestling. So for them to be killing it and doing 5-star matches on Glow would be ridiculous. It would never happen. But, it's good to see that these actors, they would have to learn all these things. They would have learned how to take a bump, learn how to do these moves. So they had to really put in the work to make this show happen. And I got to say, they did a really good job. They did a really good job. And I'm super excited for Glow Season 2. The only thing I hated was the final episode. The ending was just not good. They had the show. It's like, all right, how's it going to happen? What's the reception? What do people think? Yes, they've got a lot of storylines they've set and a lot of things that they can work with Season 2, but just the way they ended it, I just didn't like that at all. I just felt like it wasn't a true ending. It wasn't an ending that would hook me and go, oh shit, what's going to happen next season? It just didn't do enough there. But I'm still obviously going to watch Season 2. I love the show, just a poor ending, but other than that, it's fine. So I'm guessing there was a bit of a, all right, let's see how it goes. Let's test the waters. Let's not, I guess, have an open ending. Let's have some closure with the potential to go to another season, just in case. I don't know if they were completely sure if it was going to be a hit. But I think, from what I hear, very good reception from everyone that's watched it. And I think even non-wrestling fans can get into this show. And I think that's the positive thing. And it's not going to be a game changer or anything like that. It's probably not going to really help wrestling in any way. But it might just kind of put a few more eyes on wrestling, make people think of wrestling again, which is not a bad idea, and kind of showcase wrestling in a positive light again. So I liked it. If you haven't already, check it out. It is on Netflix. The full season is available to watch now. Check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. If you don't, well, that's you. But I think most people, if you like drama, then you're going to watch it. If you're looking for a wrestling show then you're not going to get that. But if you like a drama that's got wrestling in it, then this is it. And it's also really cool to see some guest appearances. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it because it's always really cool. There's probably, I don't know, half a dozen wrestlers that are in the actual show that you'll know who they are. So that was really, really, really cool as well. And by the way, I think it's a major mistake that WWE never really got themselves involved in this. I think cross-promoting this with WWE would have been great. WWE, for whatever reason, don't do anything with any other company or television show or anything that's not really to do that they don't have control with. You see in Glow, there's indie wrestlers and TNA wrestlers and whatever getting involved in this show, which is great. It's like, oh cool, he's in it. I think it'd be really good to cross promote and have, okay, Seth Rollins shows up as a trainer in the show, or they get Braun Strowman as one of the family members, the big giants in the show, for example. Just something like that. They could get some of their own WWE guys that we know who they are. We've seen them on TV. Put them in the show. It's better than putting them in a shitty Marine movie or something like that. Put them in an actual wrestling show and do something there and promote it. I think it's only positive. So for whatever reason, WWE just don't want to touch it, or they didn't want anything to do with WWE either way. But I think it's a mistake from both parts not to try and do something there. But like I said, great show. Check it out. All right, so we have a bit of gaming chat before we get into our questions. Just quickly, Crash Bandicoot. Yes, it's out. Played it, loving it. Great game. I didn't realize how damn hard this game is. I think we're all kind of in shock. Bit of a reality check that Crash Bandicoot is damn hard. But I finished half of the game. I'm pretty close to finishing the first Crash. I definitely want to do all three. I want to get the platinum on all three. So to do that, I need to get the gold relics on each level, and that's damn hard. I need to get all the boxes on every level, which isn't too bad. But yeah, it's cool to relive some of the childhood games. Personally, I would love to see Spyro get a trilogy as well. I think that was probably a game that I enjoyed more than Crash. I don't really remember Crash too much. I think my brother probably played it more, and I kind of watched. I don't remember playing it too much. I was probably too young and probably too terrible at the game. I think I played maybe Crash Team Racing more than the actual Crash itself. But I definitely played a lot of Spyro, and I so enjoyed that game. I'd love to see that remastered. But it was cool to play Crash, and then look, even if I didn't play it as a kid, now I get a chance to go back and play it, or at least I can remember playing it now and check it out. And that's the beauty of it. I think a lot of people are kind of critical of remasters or remakes, but I think when it's a game that a new generation of gamers have never played before, I think that's fair enough, especially if the game's good. I think that's fair enough to bring that on. A game that was on the PS3 and remastering that and putting that on the PS4, that's a waste of time. Unless it's like The Last of Us, it's a game that would sell a console. That type of game. But if it's a game that, for example, Bulletstorm, which didn't sell very well, not many people probably know what the game is, but yet they put it on the PS4 for 6 years after the fact that they came out on the PS3. Why? I don't know. So yeah, that doesn't need a remaster or a remake. But a game on the PS1 that was pretty popular and really, really cool, especially a trilogy, that to me deserves to be put on the console, on the PS4 these days. So I'm completely okay with it, and I've been having a good time. To a degree, Crash is pretty damn frustrating, so it can be a bit of a rage fest as well. I think I haven't broken a controller, but there's been some rage, and there's been some times where I've been pretty mad at the game, and a little hesitant sometimes to play. I have to be in a pretty good mood to want to play Crash sometimes, but yeah, it's been cool. So I like going back and trying out these games, and I really do like platform games. It's a genre that is really missing these days. I guess the platform games was so big in the 90s. Like that was all we really saw, wasn't it? Platform games dominated. So I guess maybe it's time we moved on, and I think developers have, but I guess it shows that there's still a market there. So I think people still like platform games, and I'd like to see some really good ones still coming out. But yeah, so that's Crash. So we'll get into some of our questions now before we get ready to wrap things up for the week. Okay, so a couple of quick questions before we get out of here. Cameron Fox, do you think Chris Benoit will be in the WWE games in the future? He will never be in anything WWE related ever in the future. Chris Benoit is done. I think we need to kind of accept that. It's been 10 years. It's still too new. It's still too raw. It's 100 years down the line. I mean, maybe, but even then, I mean, it would never be good publicity, especially this day and age. We are in the most politically correct society ever. You cannot say or do anything without being criticized or hung out to dry. With a group of people, without a group of people with pitchforks hunting you down, you can't do anything that's slightly controversial without sponsors dropping you, without share prices dropping, without fans unsubscribing to networks, unfollowing on social media, whatever. So there's no way that would take any risk like that, especially with Benoit. Another one from Cameron. Do you think The Rock will be back at WrestleMania this year, next year? Look, I don't think The Rock is going to wrestle again. I think his wrestling days are probably done. Maybe, obviously, there is a chance he might come back and say, all right, I want to do a legitimate retirement match. That's it. I'm done. One more match. I'll pick my opponent. Maybe it's Roman Reigns. Let's do it. I'll end my career. Maybe he does that. Will he be back for an appearance at WrestleMania? I mean, it's possible. It just depends on his schedule. That's what all it's about. He's still busy. He's still getting a lot of movies. He's still a big star. He's still one of the biggest stars, in Hollywood. So I don't think his schedule is going to slow down anytime soon. So it's very possible he could miss it again. Damien Winters, do you think Lana will be successful, or her losing the past few women's title matches will hurt her? Well, losing in 30 seconds, if that, or 10 seconds, or whatever, doesn't hurt. Doesn't help, I should say. It does hurt. But her gimmick is that, she's not a wrestler yet. She wants to be a wrestler, but she's obviously not good enough to be a wrestler yet, and she's just trying to look attractive, trying to look hot. So she can lose these types of matches, and losing to the champion when technically you're not a wrestler doesn't necessarily hurt her. I think most people expect her to lose like that. So I definitely think she could be successful. She's not awful. She's still learning. She's still getting better, and she will only get better. So I think having her wrestle occasionally is the idea. Probably limiting her to tag matches would be best as well, so they don't have to expose her. Her wrestling any more than probably 5 minutes or 3-4 minutes is probably too much. So keep it short and sweet, and I think she can do okay. Just do okay. It's going to take some time for her, and she's already quite old, so I don't know if she ever will be that successful, but just because of where she's at now and how much time she realistically has in the ring. Thomas Speller, what is a match you can watch over and over again and not be bored of it? The first match that pops in my mind is Survivor Series 2001 5-on-5 tag team match. My favorite Survivor Series tag match, full of stars, full of massive talent, just awesome. It really is. I've seen it a number of times. It's a long, long match, and I've always enjoyed it every time I watch it. I've probably seen it half a dozen times now. So I don't necessarily watch a lot of matches more than once. A match that I really enjoy, I'll watch probably 2 or 3 times tops. But any more than that, it'd have to be something really special for me to watch that. Or it's been a few years since I've seen it. So yeah, I think I last watched that match probably a year or 2 ago with my friend. I sat down and showed him that match, and he loved it too. So yeah, I've seen that one a few times, and that's probably the first match that pops my head of an instant classic. That was really, really good 5-on-5. And we have one from Masix Alil. I probably butchered that. Are you happy with WWE 2K18's features and Legends being added in? So I don't know about the Legends being added in. I mean, obviously Kurt Angle's in, but there's been a lot of new features announced for 2K18. I did a video about it already, so if you want to know my full opinions of it, check that out, or what the features are, check that out. But yeah, I am pretty happy. It sounds promising. I mean, they're making a lot of promises. Will those promises be kept? debatable. Will we see a lot of the things, and will the improvements that they're promising end up being as good as we're hoping they're expecting they're going to be? I don't know, but at least from what they're telling us and what the plan is, it sounds good. It sounds good, sounds promising. It sounds like there's some good improvements coming our way. Hopefully, things do get better. Hopefully. Because there's so much potential, but they just never live up to it. And apparently we found out that they're under a lot of restriction. The developers are under a lot of restriction, so they want to do a lot of the things that we want to see, but for whatever reason, they can't. They have these restrictions that is not allowing them to do it. So for whatever reason, that's in place. So that's disappointing. But that's pretty much all we have time for this edition of the podcast. If you have a question, leave it in the comment section down below or over on the Facebook page, BrendanPlays.com. Facebook.com/BrendanPlays. BrendanPlays.com/forums is for the forums where you can also leave a question and join up the forums and join the wrestling discussion. You can talk about everything we talked about in the podcast and a lot more over on the forums. And you can join our Discord chat as well and join the discussion where we'll be talking about Great Balls of Fire live on Brendan Plays when the pay-per-view's on. So we have a live wrestling discussion there on the Discord chat. So make sure you come along to that as well. But that is all we have time for. Remember to leave a like on this episode of the podcast and subscribe to hear more episodes of the podcast in the future. I'm stumbling my words. It's time to get out of here. I've talked far too long for one day. I've done a few videos, and this podcast. So I think I've done probably 2 hours of talking in the last 2.5 hours. Time for me to end the podcast. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.